Hello, this is Steve, N4LQ. I'm a guy that likes to experiment every now and then, and I read this article on the internet called How to Collect Free Energy from the Atmosphere. Circuit diagram attached. And sure enough, down below here, there is the diagram. And so I thought, well, I'm going to give it a try. So I made a copy of it here on the printer and printed it out, and then I built a circuit board. And this little job here is just a piece of copper plated circuit board. I used a diamond tipped hole saw to cut these holes out. They're actually pads, and they leave a nice little solder pad that's insulated from the rest of the board. I think they call this the ugly construction method, but it's quick and it works. So here's the circuit, and I got it all wired up, and it didn't work. And it took me a while to prove what was wrong, but if you look at the diagram, here is your antenna in the middle, here's your ground, here's your negative output, here's your positive output, and as you can see, the diodes are turned one way on this side and the opposite way on this side. However, the capacitors are the same. The positive sides of the capacitors are on the bottom on both sides, so that's very suspicious. Actually, this positive side of this capacitor should be up here, and that goes for all these on this side of the schematic. They are all backwards. So it was pretty easy to unsolder and turn them around, and so there you go. I got it wired up. Here's the top of it. There's your red wire, that's your plus. There's your minus output. There's yellow wire is your antenna. And ground down here is black. I've got the ground hooked to this chassis of this big radio, and that's connected to the house wiring and all the other grounds around here. And the antenna, I've got it hooked to a sort of a long wire antenna. It's an inverted L. It's a wire that goes 60 feet straight up and 60 feet across in the air, and that's pretty good for this, I believe. So we're feeding that into this little board, and we're coming out into a voltmeter, and I've got it set on the 10 volt scale, and it's reading about 8 volts. Now, a couple of hours ago there was a local radio station on the air, and I think what happens at night, they reduce their power, and so I did have almost 12 volts on this, about 11.5 volts, but when they cut their power back it dropped back down. So we don't have any strong local stations right now. All your atmospheric noise, whatever the earth creates, all radio stations, FM, AM, CB, ham radio, everything is coming in on this antenna. It's all being rectified and filtered by this board. Now each one of these sections right here, for instance this right here, is a voltage doubler that would include C2, C10, and these two rectifiers. And then these doublers are in series on both sides, and then both sides are in series with each other. So we've got 4 on each side for a total of 8 voltage doublers. So that's like 16 times whatever comes in. And then it's of course rectified and filtered, so what we're getting out is 8 volts DC. And not a lot of current, but enough to do some work. The article says that you can charge a battery with this, if you have several of these in series, you can actually power your house if you put 200 of them in series. Well, I thought, well, I'll try to light an LED. So we've got one laying here. And if you watch closely, you will see it flash as the capacitors discharge. See there? Flash, flash, flash. So I'm letting it charge and then discharging it through the LED. Now, as you can see, it's lit up. It's not very bright, but it's only got about 1.4 volts across it. And if you take two of these boards and put them in series, that'd be enough to really light this thing up. And just a few more, you could actually light up your whole room with these things. And the energy is free. There's absolutely nobody charging for this at all. And you watch as I disconnect the antenna. I'm going to try to zero in here on this LED. Okay, about right there. I'm going to unhook the antenna. Shoo, there you go. Didn't take long, it's gone. And hook it back, there it is, and so forth. And all I'm doing is just touching this wire on my antenna. So I suspect when the station comes back on the air tomorrow, everything will be nice and strong again. I'm anxious to see what happens during a thunderstorm. It should produce some interesting flashes on the little LED here. Might burn it out. But it'd be fun to put some of these in series and maybe run a little fan or something like that and have free energy. And you could put several of them in series and parallel and actually charge up a battery, make a battery charger out of it. So free energy, there you go. Just be sure to turn all these capacitors around the right way. And I'm going to provide the link to this little article down at the bottom here. So thanks for watching.